Okay, I think we're ready.
Okay, we're ready. We're ready. All right.
We're on. Okay, oh, wait, I'm muted. Can you hear me? Okay, hello. I'd like to welcome everybody to the May school board meeting. We have a lot of lovely faces in the audience, so we will start with a word of prayer and then we'll go on to our recognitions.
If you would like to, please join me. Father, we're grateful for spring and we're grateful for the success of our students, and we celebrate with several students in school this week as they had some great success this weekend. Thank you for the close of a coming year and anticipation of a good summer to recharge and to start new careers and college education for seniors. Thank you for your presence and your grace and your mercy. Amen.
So shall we start with recognitions?
We begin every board meeting with the recognition of our students and staff who have exhibited one of our guiding principles. And we're going to start with individual student growth, and we'll start by recognizing our students who participated in the instrumental, state, solo, and ensemble contest. And when you guys come up here, if you would then be prepared to tell us what instrument you played and what your final rating was. So Zachary Harris, come forward. Andrew Rose, Nathan Tyler,
Congratulations.
Briar Brown,
Congratulations.
stay right there. Tanner Murphy, Ian Hickey,
Congratulations, Ian.
Michaelan Schmidt,
Congratulations.
Talia Velasquez,
Talia, congratulations.
Talia, sorry. Michaela Corey, Ethan Rather,
Congratulations, Ethan.
Jonathan Sparrow, Javen Beaver,
Congratulations.
and AJ Freeland.
Congratulations, AJ. Excuse me. On the side there.
Hello, my name's Zach Harris. I came with my family, my dad, mom, and my sister. I played the alt saxophone and I got 13.
Hello, my name is Nathan Tyler. I came here with my mom and my dad. I play percussion and I got a silver and a gold.
Hi, I'm Ian Hickey. I play the French horn. I came with my mom and I got a gold and another gold.
Hi, my name is Michaelan Schmidt. I came here with my mom. I play clarinet and I got a silver.
Hi, my name is Talia and I play the French horn and I came with my family and I got 2 golds.
Hi, my name is Michaela Corey. I play percussion and I got a gold rating.
My name's Ethan. My parents could not make it and I got a gold. I play clarinet.
I'm Jonathan Sparrow. I play tenor saxophone and I got a gold rating.
I'm AJ Freeland. I came with my mom and my dad. I play percussion and I got a gold.
We're gonna get a picture with everyone. Mr. Kosh, you come up as well. We'll grab a picture, and then we'll get our board president, Mrs. Ott, in here. So let's squeeze in 2 rows. The 2 rows kind of fit up, peepee up. Yeah. So yeah, Ethan, you can jump up. Michaela, jump up. Ian, and then you guys scoot down here. There you go. We'll all kind of squeeze in. Outstanding. Can you get everybody? All right, congratulations, everyone. Well done.
Next, we'd like to recognize our choral students who participated in the ISMA State Finals with the Sensations of the Heritage Singers Group. They are represented here today by Jordan Kazaboski, Tommy Sunheimer, Olivia Hicks, Gary Thompson, Jenica Baldridge, and McKenna Roberts. This was their second year competing and first year as a curricular choir. The Sensations placed fourth in the unisex division. Heritage Singers received their highest placement in school history, outpacing many storied programs while taking down the defending state champs and placing third. This was the fourth year of competition for the Heritage Singers and only the second trip to the state finals. To place third in the state of Indiana is a huge accomplishment in such a short time. Congratulations.
All right, so I'm McKenna Roberts, and I brought my two moms right there and my brother Luke.
Hi, my name's Gary Thompson, and I brought my girlfriend.
I'm Jenica Baldridge, and I brought my parents.
I'm Jordan Kashabuski, and I brought my boyfriend and my mother.
And many of these same students also had another great weekend just a few days ago. Bella Voce placed second in the state, so we had members for that. And then we have the state champion choir and signature sound. So congratulations! What a great event! And we beat schools like Carmel and a couple of those others that it was great to hear our name ahead of them. So it was wonderful. So well done, and we're going to celebrate them at an upcoming school board meeting just by themselves, but outstanding work. So we need to squeeze in here and get a picture with everybody. Well done. Oh, one more here. Yeah. Oh, did you get it? Okay. All right.
Next, we'd like to recognize students who participated in the AllState Honors Ensemble. Congratulations to Allison Greenwell, Brian Ross, and TJ Vasulek, for being selected through a live audition to perform with the 2017 Indiana Bandmasters Association All-State Honor Ensembles at Purdue University in March. This is TJ's third year being selected, and he and Brian performed with the top honor band. Allison performed with the All-State Band.
And I was just told many of them are at Franklin College tonight in a performance, so that's why they couldn't be here with us. So congratulations to them. And I would just put one more thing about TJ. TJ performed a side-by-side concert at the Helbert Center this spring, and it's the second year in a row, if I'm not mistaken, that TJ received that honor. So outstanding accomplishment for that young man.
Next, we'd like to recognize Katie Perk. Katie received the 2017 Lilly Endowment Community Scholarship. This is a full tuition scholarship with book equipment stipends for 4 years at any Indiana public or private college or university. Congratulations to Katie.
We're going to kind of break rank for a little bit. I'm going to also invite the parents up to get in the picture. This is a great honor for our school system. Katie, the last recipient was about 8 years ago, 10 years ago, about 10 years ago. So to win the Lilly is an outstanding accomplishment. We'll let Katie tell you where her future plans will take her, and we'll get a picture with everybody here. So Katie, where are you headed?
I'll be at Notre Dame next year studying neuroscience.
Yeah. So we'll get a picture. Well done, Katie. Congratulations. I would just say the Lily is more than an academic accomplishment. There are many hours of community service and other leadership that goes into selecting the student that receives this for our county. So outstanding work. Congratulations. And I know that mom and dad are really happy as well. We could talk about tuition costs there. It's a little bit high, but it's a job well done.
The next scholar we'd like to recognize is Ryan Clendenning. Come on up, Ryan. Jeff and I, or Mr. Mercer, and I have been around for a long time in the school district, and we just had the conversation. Is he the first one? I think he might be the first one ever appointed to the Air Force Academy. So congratulations to Ryan.
Good job, buddy. Really, who brought you? And
so I came here with my mom, and my dad's here somewhere too.
Talk about what your future plans and where you're at.
Yeah, so I'm going to go to the Air Force Academy out in Colorado Springs and hopefully study astronautical engineering and then hopefully become a pilot after that. So.
I'm getting a no for on the picture. Well done. Yeah. And for all of you, it was, yes, being his father, I got to see the inside of this, but it's a year-long process to apply for the academy. There are 3 phases. You got to get a nomination from your state senator or representative. You also have to have the academic work and then a medical. All 3 are independent, and without all 3 coming together, you get denied or excluded from the opportunity. So it's been a year of journey for us, a lot of work and hard work on Ryan's part. I think he'll go represent Franklin quite well. We've been out there twice, and every time we leave, I hear about the rules and regulations. I'm thinking, dang, that's really going to be some tough stuff. And he's like, I'm excited. Let's go do it. So we're really proud of him. But well done on both students. And just an example of all of the quality kids that we have here at our school system. So congratulations.
Next, we have 4 students we'd like to recognize who are students of the month at C9 for the month of April. We have Samuel, help me, is Sam here? Sam Devalalo? Sam, do you know his name? Devalalo? Thank you, Sam Devalalo. Diesel Mechanics. Riley Cummings, Electronics and Computers. Caitlin Hildebrand, Project Lead the Way, Biomedical, and Blake Hampton in Welding.
Congratulations, Caitlin. Is Blake here? All right. Well, you're going to represent all the C9 kids today. You have to introduce who brought you and then talk about what your accomplishment and what you're doing with Project Lead the Way and Biomedical.
Hi, my name's Caitlin. I came with my mom over there, and I'm in biomedical. I want to go to IUPUI and go become a nurse.
Outstanding. We're going to get a picture here of everybody. Yeah. This is not right. Can you get us? Great. Well done.
We're now going to move to celebrate our staff. And I promise I could say all their names. We're going to start with our retirees. Last Monday night, we had a delightful recognition dinner for our retirees and our Teacher of the Year and Support Staff of the Year. But we thought it would be nice to recognize them publicly at a board meeting. So retiring this year from Franklin Community Schools, Connie Brinson, Bruce Cunningham, come forward when I call your name. Karen Funk, Denise Leonard, Tim Leonard, Lucy Manifold, Carol Parker, Shar Spicer, and Lynn Wilhelm. And together they have over 250 years of teaching experience. You want them to
Do you want to say,
anything?
anybody want to say anything? Who brought you here tonight? No. So we love our teachers, and we're gonna be sad to see them say goodbye in a couple weeks. They've really touched a lot of lives and really worked hard to make sure kids bring forth that first guiding principle, individual student growth. So on behalf of the board and all of us, we want to say a special thank you to all of you. Great job. If you want to come back and sub, you're more than welcome. But I know you have other future plans and things to do, but we're going to sure miss you. We love you guys, and we thank you for dedicating your life to kids. Oh, we got to get a picture. We got to get one more picture. Robin, you got a picture? Yep. Can you squeeze us all in? You see right here on this side. Yep. Can you get us all? All right. Well done. Thanks, everybody.
Next, we'd like to recognize our support staff people of the year. From Creekside Elementary, Brandy Adair. From Needham, Rebecca McCain. From Northwood, Kim Wigington. From Union, Craig Potter. From Webb, Sue Vaught. From Custer Baker, Lori Burkhart. From the middle school, Sherry Robb. From the high school, Rachel Picklesheimer. From the district, Mike Buck. Also from the district, Pam Kissel, who was selected as the Franklin Community Schools Support Staff Person of the Year.
Teachers usually out front, and these people are behind or on the side, making sure that our kids move forward. And so well done. Your peers thought a lot of you to nominate you, and then as we honor you, we say thank you as well. Good job. Thank you.
Next, we'll recognize our Teachers of the Year from each building. From Creekside, Stephanie Dunn. Needham, Melissa Henderson. Northwood, Heather Kepner. Union, Beth Hoeing. Webb, Jamie Abel. Custer Baker, Megan Mayfield. The middle school, Jenny Pieper. And from the high school and our district Teacher of the Year, Miss Kat Sarles. Kat will also go on and compete at the state level representing Franklin Community Schools.
That's all. Squeeze in here. All right, Kelly. All right, I'm sorry. Outstanding representation of all the teachers, and congratulations. Well done. And Kat, good luck.
And lastly, tonight, we'd like to recognize our PTO presidents at 5 of our buildings. Life would not happen at the elementaries or at Custer Baker without the PTOs. From Creekside, Kim Locke. From Needham, Allison Sieber. From Northwood, Christy Judson. From Union, Andrea Martin. From Webb, Ashley Wilde. And from Custer Baker, Amanda Martin.
I saw Amanda. Where is she? Oh, shit. Oh, okay. Oh. Amanda was just here. If you see Amanda wandering the building, please send her back. No, thank you for all you do. Well done. Well done. That will conclude the recognition portion. This is a good time. If you don't want to stay for all of it, to exit. We have some great things on the agenda, though. 10X from the teachers. But thank you for coming out, and we'll see everybody soon. Thanks. Bye. Thanks.
Congratulations.
Thanks.
That's
Oh,
so exciting,
yeah.
Ryan.
Yeah.
I had a best bud of mine in high school.
Oh, did he
Got to
go? Yeah.
He just loved it.
Yeah.
It's very strict.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
It is strict.
You don't have to worry about this getting in
That's
trouble
exactly-
because there's no way to
there's
do
no
that.
time to get in trouble.
Exactly.
So yeah, but
That's
yeah,
quite an honor.
yeah. Thank you very much.
no,
Appreciate it.
that's great.
See you. Yeah. Bye. Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
All right. 10X. Now, all right. I'm glad you're staying. Mr. A. House, you need to stick around.
Nice try.
Yeah, that was nice of him.
Okay, so we're ready to move on to the business portion of the meeting. We will start with public and board comments. We'll start with public comments. If anybody has a comment that they'd like to make pertaining to the agenda, you can step forward and say your name and tell us what you have. Okay, seeing none, we'll move on to board comments. We'll start with the Music Council.
Well, obviously, David has already mentioned the big news in terms of choir from the state perspective. Let me just reiterate it for you. Sensations was 4th place in the state. Heritage Singers was 3rd place in the state. Bella Voce 2nd place, and in 1st place for this year was Signature Sound. So obviously an extremely successful choral music year. Couple that with an incredible performance. Little Mermaid was a very successful year. Upcoming is the spring choir concert, May 19th, Friday, May 19th. If you haven't heard them sing, here's a great opportunity to hear it. We've already had the band concert, which was already in March, so that's already finished. So your next music opportunity is coming up next Friday night. So they had a music council meeting that I did not make.
A couple things of note on that. We are going to look at a handbook for chaperones, volunteers for both programs, and that would be for 5 through 12, just so there's a consistency and some conversations that are common throughout. So that was kind of the big one. And then also helping, we get with the program meeting so many people, make sure that when they get hired by the Booster Club, there's some type of training or structure, conversation around how to go from that lay person to a paid person in our organization. What does that look like? So some more formalization of that.
All right, thank you. All right, Athletic Council.
This month.
Okay, thank you. Legislative Council.
We wrapped up the session. There are several things that are on a couple of note. One is House Bill 1007, which is the online learning that are going to be available for kids, and looking at that. They did move back negotiations formal structure till September, after September 15th, and that will take effect actually this time. So we will have at least one retro pay in the coming year because of that. And there's some other language around funding. As we move towards the 2019 funding, we're going to go down to 2 mechanisms, an Operation Educational Fund. And we'll have more information on that. And I believe Mr. Mercer is going to help on a subcommittee to look at how to deliver that. Is that correct? As we
The Every Student Succeeds Act.
Yeah.
I'll be working with that one. Yes.
So those are highlights. And then we'll have some NEOLA policies both in June and quickly in July as we move forward to the next school year.
Superintendent Strategic Task Force.
We did not meet.
Okay. Communications Committee, we did meet. We discussed making a promotional video highlighting current and former students and their accomplishments. And as you see tonight, we have lots of students with lots of accomplishments, and we're hoping to maybe have that ready by the fall to roll out on the website. So, and then we'll move on to collective bargaining.
We have met twice informally with FCTA. Things are moving along well, and we look forward to the resolution. I do believe we will have things ready by that November 15th, and it will probably, just to mark our calendars, we'll have to have a special called meeting in September to deliver that. So as we look ahead, that will be one thing that we'll look to get to you as soon as possible.
Okay, thank you. Central 9.
Well, certainly we had the 4 students recognized tonight. We meet this following in a couple of days on Thursday. I think the other important message is they're getting close, I believe, to having an instructor for the HVAC program. Hopefully they have been to the high school to start recruiting for that program. If not, I would certainly encourage students to really take a hard look at that particular program, as the demand for that particular skill is going to increase over time. As Mr. Doty, I believe that was his background. Mm-hmm. And so I think the bottom line for that particular skill is it's never going to go away as long as we want air conditioning and heat. So great opportunity for students.
I would just piggyback on that. We talked about that today. We have 15 kids in the morning class and 15 kids in the afternoon class from all the sending schools. They were talking about some opening salaries. They're looking at between $60,000 and $80,000, and then could easily get to $100,000 with overtime in the commercial industry. So we're looking at kids looking at, do I need to go to college? There are other options, and so we're moving in that direction. We're excited to have the first class next year for that.
No, this isn't specific to Central 9, but I will add, especially for the high school opportunity, is that from my line of work, I know that the opportunities in trades, electricians in particular, going into the union and going through trade school is increasing. And as that population of the current workforce gets older, which it continues to get older, those opportunities are going to be there, and the opportunity for construction workers in skilled trades is going to increase. So another opportunity to look at.
Thank you. And RDC, Mr. Vaught's not here this evening, so is there anything?
Mr. Mercer, you have attended recently. Other plans?
Nothing really that impacts us.
Okay, all right, thank you. Okay, then we'll move on to the consent agenda. Do we have any comments or questions regarding that?
Move for approval.
I have a motion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? None? Okay, the motion passes. Okay, we'll move on to superintendent reports, starting with Dr. Clint Denning, the Hall of Fame.
Yes, we have two members coming up. We had a total of, I think, 7 or 8 nominations this year. We selected 2. We'll be moving forward with that. Mark the date for August. Natalie, help me out. John, when's first football game? I see him in the back. Yeah, we have that Thursday night will be the Hall of Fame induction, and then we will move forward with a kickoff tailgate party for the community on that Friday night. Mr. Wedstein comes to us. He was worked in the naval industry, led a significant fleet of that, and then the other name just
Diane Black.
Diane Black, of course. Diane Black was a former school board member and Franklin College leader, and she will also be inducted into the Hall of Fame. A couple of things on the Hall of Fame, we're looking at changing the plaques a little bit to kind of talk about their guiding principle and attributes, so that people do see them, they can have a name and a face to that. And one other thing, just talking about nominations, there were a couple that were nominated that had outstanding qualities, but they graduated from either one of the township schools that eventually would form into us. And since it is a Franklin Community High School Hall of Fame, we have decided that you need to have graduated from Franklin Community High School or Franklin High School in order to be included in that journey. An example, we have someone that actually created the Dorito that went to the Masonic home and graduated from the Masonic home. Well, in today's era, if that person, they would have graduated from us. But at the time, the Masonic home was not part of our system. And so there's some of those things that there are many wonderful people out there, but that is a delineation that the committee decided, and we're moving forward with that. So
August 17th.
August 17th. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, then we'll move on to 10X presentations. Dr. Clint, did you want to say anything about that? Or?
As you know, we have selected a group of teachers after a grant process to have an experience both for professional development and also to impact the classroom. And so once again, we have two with us in attendance. Heather Kepner is a teacher at Northwood, kindergarten teacher at Northwood, and she'll talk a little about her trip to DC. And then Jennifer Bartram is a teacher at Webb, and she had a great experience, a mountaintop experience. I think she'll tell you about her in just a little bit. So we'll look forward to that.
All right. Well, I had the opportunity through the 10X grant to go to Washington, D.C., and I went this last fall during fall break. The reason why I chose this experience to apply for was because I wanted to choose something that was kind of out of the realm for me, something that I didn't have a lot of expertise in myself, and something that I probably wouldn't otherwise do on my own time. And I also wanted to provide a lot of enrichment for my students. And as you know, like I teach kindergarten. Basically in kindergarten through second grade, the focus is literacy and math. We don't have a lot of time for science and social studies. We do implement it when we can within our curriculum, but I wanted to be able to provide my kids with a little something that was outside of what we normally do in our curriculum, and that I could tie into what our curriculum currently is. And I also applied for this because Franklin Schools, I have to commend our school corporation. We talk about wanting to be the employer of choice. And one of the things that we do that keeps me here and retains me is that we're so family centered. And within this 10X grant, they allowed us to bring our families along with us for the grant. They weren't included in the cost, obviously, but they were allowed to come and experience it with us. So after all the time that teachers put in the classroom, the last thing you want to do on your break or summer is to be away from your family. So it was nice that they were able to come with me. And it was perfect timing for me because my own child was going to be a kindergartner that year when I applied. So he was kind of my guinea pig all through the trip to see if he was comprehending what we were doing. And when I got back, I was able to do some of the activities with him to see how it worked before taking it to my classroom. So my experience, I got to visit a lot of the memorials all the way through Washington, D.C. We went to, of course, the Lincoln Memorial and the Washington Monument. We were a little disappointed that we didn't get to go up inside the Washington Monument. It was under construction at the time, and I think it still is. We also visited the Jefferson Memorial and the World War I Memorial. Those were some of my favorites because I didn't have a lot of experience with that. My husband's a history guru, and I am not. So he was kind of my tour guide and gave me a lot of background that I wouldn't have otherwise known. We got to visit the White House, and I was so impressed with the White House. I thought it would be kind of an in and out, shoot through, but I was so impressed with the Secret Service. They were so friendly, and they would talk and answer questions, and they would let the kids answer questions, and we actually took Flat Stanley along the trip. If you know Flat Stanley, it's a book about this character who gets mailed, and My nephew was doing a Flat Stanley project at the time. He said, will you take it with you? And so the Secret Service recognized him, was like, oh, that's Flat Stanley, let me have him. And they would take him around to different places that we weren't allowed and take pictures with him. So this last few weeks of school, I'm going to read the Flat Stanley book with my class. And they haven't seen those pictures yet. So then we're going to ago. Then I also got to visit the Capitol, and that was really neat because we went in October, so we hadn't even had elections yet, but they were already setting up for inauguration. So I got to get the 360 camera and show my kids what it looked like when they were setting up for that. And we also got to see the Bureau of Printing and Engraving, and my class loved getting to see how the money looks before it's cut and before it turns into actual money. So, and then I brought it back. After I left there, I, of course, used my little son to see, how can I apply this? I want to make sure that my kids get a lot out of this when I get back. So I went with the overall theme of leadership because in our curriculum for reading, we have the Super Kids curriculum, and there's this little group of kids, and they decide to make a clubhouse, and they pick one of their peers to be the super noodle, which is like the leader of the club. So my kids attribute leadership to that. So we started with Super Kids, and then we incorporated our principal, and we talked about Mrs. Smith, and we talked about all the character traits that make you a good leader. What makes the Super Kid leader a good leader? What makes our principal a good leader? And they talked about how she's so caring, and she smiles, and she listens. And so then we built on that and talked about how that goes along with our superintendent. Does he have to have those same characteristics as the leader of all the schools, and our mayor and our governor? And then we moved on to president. And it was funny how they were building, hearing all these words in the vocabulary, and they still today can tell you what a governor is. And so they were getting a lot of vocabulary throughout the whole thing. And then we talked about the election in November, and I did not get into politics with them very much. So we talked about the two names of the candidates, but basically I wanted them to hear the concept and get the vocabulary out of it. So we decided to have a different type of election in kindergarten. We decided to elect which cookie was the best cookie. So we tried the chocolate chip and the Oreo cookie, and we talked about all the different characteristics of the candidates, and we learned what a candidate is and what a ballot is and what the word vote means. And then they got to cast their ballots, and we voted and counted them and found out that the Oreo cookie is definitely better. It has better characteristics. Then we kind of took a break for Thanksgiving, Christmas, and then as we came back, we started talking about inauguration. And of course, my kids, we started with the movie Frozen, because of course all kids hear everything from movies, and they already knew what coronation was, because if you've seen the movie Frozen, Queen Elsa gets coronated and she becomes queen. So they knew what coronation was. You say, what is coronation? They already automatically knew. So we talked about how inauguration is kind of the same thing. So we watched some of our past presidents become inaugurated. And then on Inauguration Day, we watched just the short clip of him swearing in. So they were really excited. And then I got to show them the 360 of them setting up, and then how fancy it looks afterwards, and what the Capitol building looks like before all of that occurs. So they really got into it. We also studied Martin Luther King. I always do a study of Martin Luther King every year, but I went a little more in depth this year. We read a lot of books about him, and I always sit my kids down after we've read books, and I act like I'm very serious, and I tell them that the kids with brown eyes today are going to get to have an extra recess. And it almost brings some to tears, but it proves the point, and they really understand what it feels like to be on that side of the issue. So then I had one little girl this year. She, I was so proud of her. I never had this before. She stood up and kind of said, Mrs. Kepner, I don't think you're being fair. And I stopped her and I said, I am so proud of you. I know that's hard to do. That's hard to stand up to someone who is your teacher and say, this isn't fair. So we talked about, that's exactly what Martin Luther King did. He used his words. He didn't fight. He didn't hurt anyone. He used his words to stand up and fight for what he believed in. So then I also took the 360 camera to the Lincoln Memorial. And so we got to pull that up, and I stood in the exact spot where he gave his speech, which is that picture right there. It's engraved on the ground. And so they got to see from his perspective what it would have looked like. And they got to scroll around to see where it was. And then we watched a little bit of his actual speech so they could see what it looked like with all the people there. And then we also studied the White House and the presidents, some of the past presidents, mostly Washington and Lincoln around President's Day. And then we studied all the pets that have lived in the White House, and they loved that. And we took a virtual tour online of the White House because they don't let you take the 360 camera in there. Flat Stanley made it, but not the camera. So we did a virtual tour online, and they were really excited about that. So then we decided to write letters to the White House. We never did hear back from the White House yet, but they were so excited to mail those. So you can see a picture of them there with their letters. And then we constructed the White House with Legos. You can see a picture of my three. They each did that in a center with one of my helpers. And you can see in the other picture there, they're holding up their suitcases. They each had a road trip suitcase. So all along this unit that we did, they got to add things into their suitcase that they had created or that we studied, they colored. And so then they got to take that home with them when they finished to share with their families. So then my last slide is just a quote. This is one of my personal teaching philosophies that I've always had in kindergarten. It says, don't be afraid to use big words with little kids. If they can say Tyrannosaurus Rex, they can say anything. So this is like one of my philosophies, just because these little kids, sometimes you look at them and think, okay, we need to tone this down. But really you don't. These kids can get big concepts. They can understand what you're doing. You just have to relate it to them. So I just really appreciate this opportunity. I appreciate you being able to give this to all of the teachers, because then we can bring this back to our kids and we can share with them and help them grow. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
I have one question.
Yeah.
So, well, first of all, you nailed exactly the intent of the 10X grant, which is to bring that back and put it to real life for your kids. So that's great. How'd you get into the White House? Because that's a feat.
To get in, you just have to go through one of the state representatives. Okay. Yeah, so you just have to. As soon as I found out, I went ahead and booked that. You have to do it at least 3 months ahead to get in. Cool. Yeah, it was really neat. Yeah, and I want to give a shout out to Natalie. Natalie was phenomenal help. She, through every step of the way of booking, making reservations, answering questions, she was awesome. And when I go back to being a family-centered corporation, she was very helpful in making those accommodations that would be able to bring my kids along for the journey. So I appreciate that.
Was President Obama in the day you were there?
Yeah, he actually was there. My son was convinced he was giving the tour. Like, I talked to him. I was like, no, honey, you are not going to see him.
Tour guide.
And he was convinced. He said, he is going to be the one that walks us around. And I said, no, he's not. So he was a little disappointed when we first got there that mommy was right and he was wrong. But yeah, he was actually in the White House. They did, which I was surprised they would even release that to us, but they said that he was there. I didn't see him, but he was in the building.
Outstanding.
All right, thank you.
Okay. My 10X grant was entitled Grand Getaway because I went to the Grand Canyon. I had a wonderful time. I was able to take my husband, again, getting back to the family-centered. I was able to take my husband, and we hiked and biked and rafted all around. Prior to this experience, the furthest west that I had ever been was Lincoln, Nebraska, the summer after my 8th grade year for an AAU national track meet. So there wasn't a lot going on in Lincoln, Nebraska, and I've never made it back out any further. So to go out and experience these landforms and the landmarks that I read about and I teach my students about was pretty incredible. There I am representing Franklin Parks. rafting trip. This was something, it really inspired me to see how environmentally conscious they are out there. And this is just a few of the pictures that I snapped, but seeing some of these things have kind of prompted some ideas for my next 10X grant. So be looking for that soon. After we left the Grand Canyon, we drove through Utah and we were able to go into Arches National Park, see some of those wonderful things. So all of those are pictures and experiences that I'm going to be able to go back and share with my students in the classroom. But the reason that I wanted to go out that direction was the NSTA conference. This is a conference that I've been able to attend when it's close. I've been to Indianapolis and Detroit and Cincinnati, but to be able to go out to Denver for this conference, I've always been able to hook students in with science. No matter if they're a struggling reader, if they're not the greatest mathematician, science always hooks them in, and I'm able to infuse reading and math through the science. So this is a pretty typical conference. They've got keynote speakers, they've got the breakout sessions, and you get to choose which breakout sessions you attend based on your interest and the grade levels. So they had them organized by elementary, middle, high school, and anybody that knows me knows that I'm a planner and I've got everything organized. So I had my itinerary filled except one space. I couldn't find anything that really interested me for that space. So I decided to look in the middle school band, and I found the jackpot. I hit the mother lode. So we went to this session about MEAs, and the presenter launched into talking about MEAs and MEAs and MEAs, and she must have seen that we were lost in her alphabet soup because nobody knew what an MEA was. So she stopped and she showed this quick little video that I'm going to show you explaining what an MEA is.
Model listening activities, abbreviated as MEAs, are open-ended, problem-based, interdisciplinary lesson plans based on realistic scenarios from which students create a model for solving a problem rather than arriving at one solution. These engaging problems encourage students to utilize a variety of skills, including critically reading texts, applying problem-solving strategies, working mathematically, and communicating effectively with teammates. Here's a common sequence of basic steps in an MEA. Students read an informational text or fictional literature that provides context for the problem. Students receive a problem statement, usually a letter from a fictitious client, stating a problem. A data table is included with the letter. In teams, students determine a process or procedure for solving the client's problem, which is their model. Students then write a letter back to the client explaining their decisions. Students receive a second letter from the client, called the twist, asking them to test their procedures with an extra set of data. Students test and revise their procedures as necessary, then write back to the client explaining how their procedures changed. Finally, student teams present their work to the class. Working through an MEA can improve students' problem solving, communication, for example, writing or speaking, mathematical practices such as modeling and constructing evidence-based arguments, and skills in context areas like science or mathematics.
Okay, so she showed that quick video when we all kind of looked at each other and said, oh, problem-based learning. We get it now. Okay, so she explained that she was the literacy specialist at her school in Florida near the Tampa area. And she shared an example that a classroom teacher came to her. She was working with a group of about 13 or so sixth grade boys who were non-readers, not good readers, not interested in it, and it was becoming a problem in the class, causing some behavior issues as well. So the literacy specialist asked, well, what do they enjoy? Football. I can't get them to stop talking about football from the time they come in to the time they leave. Football. Literacy specialist said no problem. So she developed this MEA, writing a letter from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers asking for recommendations on who should be selected in their upcoming draft. So now you've got these boys who are non-readers diving in to college scouting reports and statistics, trying to find the best players for the quarterback, linebacker, and running back positions. So then they submitted a letter with their recommendations and why they chose those players. The return letter from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers stated that, okay, we've got a salary cap of X amount of dollars. We've got these players that were injured last year with these injuries. Is it worth it to us to keep these players, or should we release them? So now the boys are digging into information about concussions and ACL repair and what's the recovery for those kind of issues. They're looking at the salary cap and the salaries that these players are making. So again, they wrote a return letter with their recommendations. So I was really excited to take this back to Webb. We had a problem at Webb with some ducks. A particular duck decided to make a nest the previous 2 years, make a nest underneath one of our pieces of playground equipment and lay her eggs, which meant that when the students went outside to recess, they weren't allowed anywhere near that piece of equipment. So it was becoming a real problem. So Mrs. Moran wrote a letter. Mrs. Moran wrote a letter and asked for their help solving this problem. So I had them get together with their educational partner. They brainstormed, they drew sketches, they talked between the two of them, and then we came together as a whole group and shared out some ideas. And their initial plans included things like putting birdhouses in trees for the duck, building shelters and putting bedrooms in them, having beds and having heaters. These were third graders. So I found some articles about ducks. Now, these were not articles that were written for third graders. It's probably written at about a 9th grade level or so. So we dug into the text and did a couple of close readings with them and dug into the vocabulary and learned a lot about ducks. So then they went back to the drawing board and they decided, okay, ducks don't roost in trees. That's not going to work. So they came up with another plan of building a smaller shelter. They don't need beds. They don't need heaters. So they learned what the needs of the ducks were and made a recommendation to Mrs. Moran. Mrs. Moran then approved a plan and requested that they get the exact measurements of the wood that would be used to construct the shelter and find the area and perimeter measurements. So now these kids are using skills to solve real world problems, and not just real world problems, problems that apply to them. This was something that was near and dear to their hearts. They wanted to be able to play on the playground equipment. So they wanted to be able to solve this problem. Another MEA that we did this year was a shoe design. So during our Underground Railroad unit before going to Clues Hall to watch Freedom Train, they received a letter from a slave asking for help in designing a shoe that would aid them in their escape. They received a map, and depending on which slave they received a letter from, they were going from different starting points. So that small group had to decide, okay, is this person going to need a shoe that helps them through water or helps them over mountains? So these are some of their designs. On this one, you can see it's waterproof. It's got a built-in grappling hook on a grips. This one was tall. They were going to be going through some swampier areas, so they needed a taller type shoe. This next part, kind of the twist part, was for them to construct a model of a bridge to cross a river. We didn't actually get to this part this year, but it's definitely something that we'll do next year. Timing just didn't work out this time. And then the last MEA that I did with my group this year was making some blueprints for a house. So an architectural firm contacted them and said, you know, I've got an architect that's out on maternity leave. I need your help to design a floor plan for a house that's 1,200 square feet. It needs to have 3 bedrooms, a bathroom, a kitchen, and a living room. They were also supplied with dimensions of pretty standard furniture that you find in a home. So their first step was to make this furniture and then design the layout for their floor plan. Interestingly enough, some of them made a very large living room, which left very small bedrooms. So then when they put their furniture in the bedroom, they found, okay, this bed doesn't fit, or I only have room for a bed, I don't have room for a dresser. So they learned from that failure and went back to the drawing board and revised their work. Now, full disclosure, I did not take pictures or save any of the original work, so this is kind of a mocked up copy just for this presentation that a student did for me. But when they submitted their letter back to the architect, they had to include what the dimensions of each room were and the area. So again, applying those real skills to a real world problem. So just like Heather, I'd like to thank everybody that made these 10X grants possible. It was an incredible experience, and it's something that has had an immediate effect at Webb. And I can't thank you enough.
Thank you. Okay, well, we'll move on to the 10X support staff grants. Mr. Mercer?
You know, I think we've had 6 presentations from teachers, and I think it's indicative of what happens in a master teacher's hands, what can occur. And, you know, from my perspective, relative to the investment, I think it's been more than worthwhile to do that. And I look forward to all the exciting adventures they have in the future. This year, through a lot of hard work from Robin Betts and a committee that she put together, we have recently awarded 10X grants for our support staff to the tune of $41,426. You may recall that dollars gleaned from our partnership with Johnson Memorial Hospital are being utilized much like they were with 10X grants for the teachers. They're being utilized for the support staff as well. They are headed all over the world, really, but certainly within the United States. Florida Keys, New York City, Hawaii, California, and Las Vegas. I think our own Mr. Kirby is one of those recipients, and he's headed somewhere in California for something good. And so we are excited. Robin, how many were there? 15, 16? 16? 16 total recipients this year, and they are headed out soon in the month of, as early as the month of June, and we'll be attending through the fall and even through the spring of next year. So we're excited to see all the good stuff that they come back with. Robin, do you have anything that you'd like to add?
We're going to consider that a success. We had almost 40 support staff applications. So we're really
wonderful.
As well as stressing the selection process.
That was hard.
Yeah, but that's a good problem to have. So lots of good stuff forthcoming.
Very good.
And just peeking to the future, we will have 10X grants for students coming in 17, 18. We're going to take some dollars, and it'll be community-based. The kids will have to come up with a community activity will impact all of us in their 10X. So we'll have the 3 domains of teachers, support staff, and students all moving forward. So it's pretty exciting place. So congratulations to Heather and Jenny and all the teachers that were able to do that. Well done, and thank you, Robin, for leading support staff.
Thank you. We're going to move on to the Honors English update with Dr. Hayden.
Thank you for taking a few moments to hear our progress. And I'm joined by Eric Jenkins. He's going to also present about our process that we undertook this year. Backing up just a little bit, looking at why we went through this process, we went through a program evaluation. It finished in May of 2014 at our high schools, comprehensive look at our high schools offerings in advanced content and high ability content. And they came up with quite a few recommendations that we have been working through over these past years to implement. We've implemented many of them, but one of them that we had not was the one listed there. Consider restructuring honors English 9 and 10 to be more academically rigorous. And so we began to go through that process. As we got started with that, we knew we needed to have an expert that would try to help walk us through that. And so Monica Planton was a great fit. She had worked for the state recently on English language arts units, a retired teacher, and really just an outstanding person to help guide our high school. And so John Stevens, Eric Jenkins, Matthew Smith, and Becky Hart got started with them at the high school, along with high school administration as well. And so next, Eric's going to talk a little about the process that they used.
Yeah, so I'm Eric Jenkins. I teach English 10 honors. This is my third year here at Community High School. My first year was the year that we had the evaluation.
Yeah, sorry.
The first year that I was here was the first year we had the evaluation. Then the next year, we started to work in our PLCs and have a focus on our honors program. And at that point was when I had the opportunity to enroll in the AllState University scholarship, where I just completed my coursework. Yes. For the certificate in high ability, the licensure is next week when I take the test for that. John Stevens and I both took that, as well as Nikki Sargent. Really what I feel like I learned through that process is it gave me a clearer picture of what high ability can and should look like at the high school. Previously, I would say it was probably more in my head that it was going to be just about acceleration content being academic, but really there's multifaceted aspects to the high ability curriculum, including enrichment and making sure that it meets the needs of our students. So when we're designing and going through this process, I was able to think about what we need specifically at the high school, at the secondary level, because what I learned was that high ability looks different all across that. And so we currently meet every other week. Matt Smith, who teaches 11 honors, John Stevens, who teaches 9 honors. And we meet every other week as a PLC to really share, how we're developing assessments, grading student writing. And then the next part of that process was developing the framework and curriculum that Dr. Hayden is going to show you. So it's an ever-evolving process. As we go, we're continually working on it. But I feel like we're in a good place to implement the framework that's here this fall.
So they did go through that process, and I'll skip to the product just there. It'll be available on our website soon, and it's on your board meeting notes now. And that's the framework that they finished up working on that throughout this school year, and it'll be in place for this fall. I'm revising those honors courses. As we worked through, and I'll mention another step in the process that we took, as we worked through this and finishing up in March and April, the Broad-Based Planning Committee got together, and that's a large group that meets at least once a year. And it has administrators, teachers, parents, and students. And we worked through many different high ability issues, but one of them was, and the main conversation was really about honors English at the high school. And they offered some good feedback as well that we're working on implementing, even with an additional course offering or changing the course offering slightly at the high school to add another layer of rigor there for some kids that will need that as they get ready for AP. So that was part of our process also. The product, though, is a really comprehensive look at a great honors 9th, 10th, and 11th grade English program. The high school teachers did a fantastic job working through that. They came up with a really great, some resources, some things we can get for them, and those are in place. And so we're really excited about that starting in this fall. Any questions or comments for us?
I do have one question. The new classes, are they for students that have been already labeled as high ability only?
Yeah. No, not entirely. So what we did, that was one change also called for, was making sure that we had a better process for how students would be put into the honors courses. In the past, there wasn't really a process so much. It was more self-selected, which worked in some ways, but it also had a lot of high ability kids that were identified did not self-select into honors, and then they just weren't in honors courses. They might take AP a few years later, and they might not do as well as they otherwise would have with increased rigor during those years, particularly 9th and 10th grade. Also, some students selected the course that probably weren't academically ready, and so over time, that can make those courses not as rigorous as they need to be. So we did look at that. If students are already labeled in high ability as reading students, then they can go into honors. But we also had a process where kids could express interest. The middle school looked at data, and then if parents disagreed with the decision, they could appeal, much like our process we use currently, K through 8. We and have then heard the appeals and made decisions based on that. So we have that process now, and that is new going into next year.
Okay, is there anything for kids who maybe want a little more rigor than basic English, but aren't at the honors level?
Yes, and that's something the high school's working on, and that really came out of conversations throughout the year that we need something for that, in addition just to the regular 9th grade. And so we haven't come up with a name yet, so I don't want to say what it is because we're trying to figure out what to call it. But we do want that because it's important to understand that honors courses are not required for an academic honors diploma. They're not required as prerequisites for AP. They are really for kids who the general curriculum will not meet those students' needs well. That's really why that's there. So it's not designed to hold anyone back, but it is for kids if the regular curriculum won't work that well for them. It's there for them. But we are going to create another layer there that's a pre-AP type of work to make sure they're getting that additional rigor too.
Perfect. Thank you. Any other questions? No?
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, we will move on to action items. Additional appropriations, Mr. Mercer.
You have attached to the agenda an additional appropriation resolution. This is a document that will serve us as we transition our retired teachers into the early retirement buyout, utilizing rainy day dollars to the tune of about $230,000. You'll notice the appropriation is for $500. At the time that we wrote it, I didn't know how many would retire. We ended up with 10. Obviously, if we don't need all $500,000, we won't use it. We'll only transfer that which we need, but we do have the authority for $500. So we did end up with 10 teacher retirees. These dollars that will go into their VEBA accounts will be transferred at the conclusion of school sometime over the summer or the very early fall, and that will take care of our promise to the teachers in their impending retirement. So I am asking, and if I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have, but in lieu of that, I would ask your approval of this additional appropriation.
Move for approval.
Okay, we have a motion. Any other questions, comments? Okay, all those in favor, sign of aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, the motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you. We'll move on to textbook adoptions. Mrs. Nally?
Yes, this is the same list we brought last week. Since we are moving more towards a digital curriculum, we just have these 4 classes in which we need to adopt some additional resources.
Any questions?
Move for approval.
Okay, we have a motion. All those in favor, sign of aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Hearing none, it passes. Thank you. And then you're up next. Whoops, handbook.
Same, again, for Custer Baker, these are the same changes brought last month as well, and they really are just aligning with the elementary language and expanding the electronic language a little bit.
Move for approval.
Any other questions? All those in favor? Sign of aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none. Motion passes. Thank you. All right. You're up next.
I am.
For book rental.
Book rentals actually are going to go down this for the school year 17-18 slightly. I know. Again, because we're not adopting a new science curriculum resource, our teachers will be working over the summer to create and develop the curriculum resources in which they'll want to use. So you'll see in grades 5, 6, 7, 8, most of them, there is no science. The one change that will come next time is I've met with or talked to the kindergarten teachers, and they no longer use the science health big book in the kindergarten book rental list. So when I come back next month, that will be removed from book rental also, which will even lower that price as well. So this is just a first glance at what book rental prices would be for K through 8. And then I will bring high school next month for a first reading as well.
Thank you. And then you're still there for the middle school and high school handbook.
Middle school has hardly any changes. And again, it's just the school bus videotaping language that we've added to all of the others. And then the high school has added that as well. They have a little bit more extensive changes more on the athletic side. And I believe Mr. Regas is going to talk about that.
Thank you, Deb. I don't know if we need to see it necessarily, but I can pull it up here so it's available for viewing. Kind of the big picture with our athletic handbook and really our code of conduct is, my 4 years here, I've tried to evaluate during that time. It was about 10 years old. This year is our 10th year with our current code of conduct. So I've seen things and wished that we could do some things differently. Also surveyed some of the other schools in our conference and in our county to discuss, how they conducted their code of conduct and student discipline and things like that. And really took kind of a holistic view at it and wanted to make a lot of updates. The first thing was it was just outdated. Being 10 years old, things have changed. Social media is completely different now than it was 10 years ago. I think we had the word MySpace still in our athletic code of conduct. I'm not even sure MySpace is around anymore. So we got rid of that and we updated some other things. But overall, we were trying to be student-centered. We were trying to also give some grace to our students who mess up. We've all been high schoolers before. We've all done, things that we probably wish we wouldn't have. And we tried to really find a way. I think big picture, when you look at where we were in the old system to where we are now, we probably have a little bit more grace than maybe some of the other schools, but it's calculated. It's in certain places where I think it made sense, and not necessarily just, laying down and not having standards, but doing it in a way that it was actually helpful to students, and there was still a growth opportunity there. So our old system also, our old code of conduct treated everything in one silo and one filter. So it didn't matter whether it was something really, really major, what I would call major, versus something really minor. It sort of all fell into a silo, which was really convenient for me, but I always struggled with that. I felt like that really was hard for me to, do a good job with different situations when they were all funneled under one silo. So in our new version, we've sort of created majors and minors kind of a world, and tried to, again, with the student-centered grace in mind in that situation. When we have a student that slips up and does something, we're not hitting them in the same way that we're punishing a student who's done something really, really significant. So that was another big reason. The other thing was in our current code, and this is purely based on experience of dealing with this for 4 years, is that there was really no incentive for students to tell me the truth when I would do an investigation. And so I wanted to provide an incentive for them other than to just say, be a good person and tell me the truth, because that's the right thing. And I would obviously use that technique, but I wanted to provide them with a reason to be truthful in these situations. And that's what this new code also speaks to, is trying to give them an incentive to do that. And then the last thing was, again, trying to be graceful and student-centered is to not give up on a student. So they get to a certain point and in our old system, that was it, you know. And honestly, in 4 years, we've never gotten to that place with any students. I hope we don't ever get there. But in our system, had we gotten there, there was no path for them to come back. That was it. And the path is hard. The path will be very hard for someone to come back after they've gotten to that level. But there at least is, and that really came from the coaches, which is really neat, because they were the ones saying, you know what, you know, these kids need us, and sometimes they need us more than we need them. And so we want to keep them around. And if we push them away, how are we going to impact them? And I was really blown away by that. That was something that they brought to me and said, create a hard path, a really hard path. But for a kid that really needs this, we need to get them back. And so overall, again, just updating it and trying to make it more student-centered was our approach, and align it with our mission as well. So any questions?
No, but thank you for doing
Thank you.
that. I think that
Thank you.
is a great thing. Thank you. Okay, very good. We will move on to board and administrative comments. Dr. Clendenning?
Just a couple things. I want to go back to Hall of Fame for a second. We did have a couple people that were brought to us that were serving in military or something, or maybe an athletic accomplishment. So we talked at the committee level saying we need some place that we would honor the military student in Franklin. So we're going to meet with the high school, and we'll have a plaque or something with the names of students. And especially if the unfortunate event where someone passed away in either inaction or while on duty, that we would honor them. And we've talked about that. And then also, I've talked with Mr. Regas about what does a Hall of Fame look like right now at the athletic area. To get the Hall of Fame down there, you got to be inducted to the state level. Like Rusty was just inducted to the Tennis Hall of Fame for being, I think, the 6th most winning coach or something for us. Outstanding career. But what about the person who maybe just have great accomplishments but doesn't fit? So we're looking at that as well. I don't have a good answer for that one, but John and I are in conversation. So yeah, that we want to recognize excellence in that as well. So that was a Hall of Fame that we did have extensive conversations around that.
Okay, and then we'll move on to the calendar.
Just a few things. Retreat coming up on the 7th, 8th, and 9th, and Dr. Grunitz with us on the 8th. You're more than welcome to attend all or any. We do need to pick the final date, the 7th or the 9th. I think Natalie's working on that with you all to say, okay, which one works. And it's really what works best for you all. And then we are going to have a second retreat back here in the area. And remember, that one's going to be on the fiduciary side of looking at our in the big picture using Jeff's performa and conversations about where are we headed. Circuit Breaker is still going to be with us for 10 years. We're doing some great things. We're having amazing accomplishments. But how do we continue to move forward? That's what we're going to talk about at the second retreat. Kids' last day is coming up. Hopefully we'll have no missed opportunities for school between now and then. We almost had one last week with the water situation. I know if you lived on the west side of 31, you're like going, oh, please let us have water. But thanks to Mr. Doty and all the principals, we could pull that off. But last day is May 30th. Graduation, June 2nd. Who has a diploma list?
I do.
You have it, okay. Leah and I still need to sign. And just a reminder, if you're, we need the list also to help put the kids in the order that you want to pass out the diploma. So if we can get that, that'd be great. Be here at 6:15. Is that correct? And we're going to meet in the athletic conference suite. So if you can be there, hope everybody has their cap and gown. If not, contact Leah immediately because we need to get that. We'll find one for that. And we'll be starting at 7. Should be another great ceremony. Summer school comes up on the 7th through the 30th. And then at the end of that, we also have the iRead retest for some of our students coming up.
Very good, thank you. Public comments? Okay, seeing none.
Move to adjourn.
All right, thank you. Thank you all for coming.